name is Tara Callahan, and I used to do videos here once a week, and I'm gonna try and start doing it again. I don't know why I haven't done them, but here we go. I don't know, how can you not like start talking? What is happening on planet Earth right now with all of the sexual predators? If someone's standing there in a parka and a hat and they've got their mittens on and you are nude, maybe reevaluate your decisions in life. With all the, the Harvey crap and the Louis C.K. crap, all that stuff just sort of triggered a memory that I thought I'd share with you guys. It's about the first time in my life that I really realized how creepy and perverted guys can be, and that I needed to sort of arm myself against them. So today I want to tell you about a story that I remembered that was triggered by all this chaos and craziness on the internet and in the news. So let's preface this by saying that I grew up in a kind of insulated community. I went to Catholic schools my whole life, starting in 4th grade all the way through college. And so I didn't really know a lot about, life and like reality. So I was 13 years old, and it's around that time where you're sort of babysitting and you really have no way to make money other than doing that, and you're sort of limited to the people on your street who have kids. So I was doing that. I was babysitting left and right, but I would always read in our hometown newspaper, the Old Colony Memorial in Plymouth, Massachusetts. In the classified section, I would always read every week, like everybody was running all of these ads for their services. There was some guy, you need something hauled, call Ike, 555-1212, whatever. And I got to thinking one day, I can run an ad and I can like farm out my services. That's gonna be far more effective than me just waiting for somebody to call me up on the phone and babysit their 2 kids for an evening. So I remember sitting down in my room and writing out my classified ad. So I didn't know a lot, but I did know enough that I could just call up this Old Colony Memorial and give them my ad and they would run it. And it was free and there was no age limit, and you could just call them up and they would put it in the newspaper. So I remember sort of sweating over my ad. I was really specific. I gave my name and I gave my phone number, and I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was like 13-year-old girl, services for lawn mowing and organizing, babysitting, odd jobs, like a handyman person sort of thing. Whatever handyman things you can do at that point in your life. And I just wrote it all out, and then I called the number at the bottom of the paper. So it was a woman that answered, and I remember I had to read it to her twice because they need to make sure they have all the punctuation correct or whatever. So I read it to her twice. 2 times I read it to her, and then she was like, okay, all right, we got it, we'll run it. That sounds good. Thanks for calling the Old Colony Memorial. I didn't tell my parents I was doing this because I was never telling them anything that I was doing. So I wrote this ad. I was super excited. I was like, I'm gonna get people awesome Christmas gifts this year. I'm gonna be able to start buying cool clothes. I mean, I went to a Catholic school. I wore uniforms. I wanted to like generate some income so I could maybe buy some cool shit. I wasn't always making the best choices. I remember like that year, I think I went to like a store where I was putting like a roach clip in my hair with like the feathers. Like, I thought that was cool. I didn't know what the roach clip was, but I knew I was fashionable. So I ran the ad, and I was really excited about the income that I was going to generate. And then I went to school. Must have been like over the weekend. And I went to school, and I remember it was in history class. I remember vividly where I was sitting. I was in my uniform, and it was history class, and it was before class. And I remember this one kid who was like a shitball to me my entire time that I went to that school. And his name was Nicky. I won't name him by his last name, but I hope he's had a horrible life because he was just horrible to me and a lot of other people in school. He was mean if you weren't cool or whatever. But I remember this one day, he sat right in front of me in class, and he turned around with this big shit-eating grin on his face, and he's like, yeah, I saw your ad. And I was like thinking, why is he talking to me? But like he never talks to me other than like to taunt me. But he's like got this grin, and he's like, yeah, I saw your ad. And I was like, cool, that's awesome. I'm gonna start doing my own thing. I'm gonna just get this business going. I'm hoping that it's really gonna take off. And he's like, yeah, I saw your ad for hand jobs. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do like handyman people things. I'm gonna just like maybe lawn mow for if they need that, maybe some lawn mowing, maybe some babysitting, maybe some like helping moms, that sort of thing. And he's like, no, like hand jobs. And I was like, yeah, like hand jobs. And he just like erupted in laughter, and everybody around us erupted in laughter. And I was just remember thinking like I took a beat and I was like, uh-oh, I clearly have done something wrong. I don't know exactly what, but this is not looking good for me. And the teacher did not hear what was going on. She just sort of got everybody shut up and just did the lesson, and that was the end of that. But I was the laughing stock, and I did not know why. I just knew that I had done something horrifying, and I was going to pay for it. I just didn't know what was happening. I was like, why is he taunting me about my ad for like lawn work? I just don't get it. So then I don't know who it was. Some one of my more progressive girlfriends must have pulled me aside later on in the day, and and she's just like, do you know what a hand job is? And I was like, clearly, I do not know what's happening right now. No, what is a hand job? Like, what is happening? And she told me, and I was like, I'm gonna have to go into the witness protection program. I'm gonna have to get a new family. I'm gonna have to move. I don't know how I'm gonna survive this. Oh my God, my father is gonna kill me. Oh my God, what is happening right now? I inadvertently ran a prostitution ad in my hometown newspaper for the entire town and my junior high and high school. My sister went to that school, like the high school, to see. So the shame didn't end there. So then I got home and I didn't field a lot of these calls, and I have a feeling that my parents were getting a lot more of these calls than they told me about. But I do remember fielding a couple of these calls, and they were disgusting. I remember like heavy breathers and people saying things that I didn't understand, but I knew were super inappropriate to be asking a 13-year-old. And I was just horrified. This was before the internet, and this was before cell phones. So it wasn't like I was like, had my own cell phone in the ad and I could sort of mitigate the circumstances and shut that shit down. I just couldn't do that. It was my parents' phone number on the ad. So they were calling my home phone number, and my parents were answering, and I don't even want to know what my mother was fielding during the day when she was at home. She was a stay-at-home mom, and I shudder to think about what the heck people were saying to her on the phone. She probably doesn't remember this because my mother remembers nothing about my youth, and neither does my father. I'm hoping they do, but it happened, and boy, it was a shit show. But thankfully, at that point, things ran for a week, and then they didn't like rerun unless you actually called and reran the ad. So I just had to suffer through it. I just had to suffer through the shame. I was the girl who started a sex ring in my hometown, and I just like take it, and I had to shake it off, and then I had to move on with my life, which is what I did. I didn't have to go into therapy. I didn't have to go into the witness protection program. I did have to listen to a lot of disgusting stuff on the telephone, and then it ended. A lot of things bother me about that story, but the one thing that bothers me the most is that clearly when I called, I know I put my age in there. I know I put my phone number and my name. And there was a person, there was an adult answering the phone at the Old Colony Memorial, and I was reading her my ad twice. And I read the ad to her twice, and during no part of those times that I was reading it was she like, I need to speak to your mother. Like, this is not, is there somebody home? Is somebody like holding a gun to your head? Please put some adult on the phone because this is inappropriate and we are not gonna run this ad. This is a sex ad and we're not gonna do it. Are you okay? Do you need the police to come to your house? Like, nobody asked me that. They just ran the ad. No problem. I went to a Catholic school, so it wasn't like I knew the jargon, like the adult jargon that, adults use to solicit sex acts from each other. Sex education, they would throw up stupid shit, like a picture of a fallopian tube over here, maybe like a picture of some testes over here, and then they would tell you the basics of like what happens during sex, whatever, and you're just like, gross! Everyone's like laughing, gross. I can't believe my parents do that. gross, I'm never gonna do that. Like that sort of thing, and that was sex ed. They didn't tell you the important things, like the actual terms that adults use out there in society. Like there's a penis and there's a vagina, but there's also something called a hand job. And if someone asks you to give them one, run. At that point, they weren't like sprinkling in current jargon into like sex education, which I hope they do now. I don't know if they do that, but if I was teaching sex ed now, I would totally tell kids about that so that they didn't get themselves into this sort of horrible quagmire that I was in for a significant amount of time. It's tragedy, and I'm glad that it happened before the internet, because I definitely would have had to go and get a passport and move to another country. You do dumb things because adults don't tell you the right things at the right time. And I'm glad for the internet now. I hope that kids know more than we did to keep them out of trouble. If you do something stupid, and if you're watching this as a kid, you probably shouldn't be, but if you do something stupid like that and you start a sex ring by accident in your hometown, just take a deep breath. Tell your parents you did something stupid and shake it off and move on with your life. Just move on with your life. You're gonna do things like super embarrassing, but you're gonna survive it. I survived it. I didn't have to go into therapy. I didn't have to go into the witness protection program. I was just super embarrassed and humiliated, but dust yourself off, get up, and show them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.